Welcome to the Wally Report. MMA.
Listen, without any warning and complete disregard for human life, the Dark Knights of MMA have returned once again. Today we're back for the fourth installment of Excuse the Savvy, and we couldn't be more jacked up. In standard Savvy fashion, we'll be discussing the most recent UFC cards, covering all the hot MMA news, and deep diving specific UFC weight classes. Then we'll also look ahead to the big fights on the horizon and lay down our world-famous Savvy picks. And of course, I'm joined by our Excuse the Savvy co-host, Nico Takalakis. Nico, how excited are you to be back?
I'm pumped. I'm psyched. It's great to be here, Ari. Great to see you. We got a little spring in the air on the East Coast here. Got a little summer. We can breathe it, feel it coming. So, yeah, we're in good spirits. We've had some good cards we're going to look at in the past. We're going to look ahead as well. I'm excited.
And just really quickly before we start, can you believe this is already round 4 of Excuse the Savvy? Doesn't it feel like we just started?
We're getting the momentum going. We're getting that flow. We're starting to get that flow, and it's feeling good. It's feeling good. So thanks, Ari, for just reminding everyone. Yeah, show number 4. Here we are. We have a lot to look forward to. Okay. And a lot that just happened last night. So I'm excited to get in. But first, where do we start usually, Ari?
Yeah, so let's just, again, I know I mentioned it a little bit during the intro, but for the people that are just coming to the show, what do we do on the Excuse the Savvy episode? Recent card analysis. We're going to be talking about Edwards and Brady, and then Moreno and Arizek. Big MMA news. Okay, there wasn't as much bookings now, but we got some hot stuff. I got a couple things I've added since I last talked and sent you the outline, a couple left field things that just happened late last night.
Mix it up a little.
We got state of the MMA world content here and so a couple topics, not a ton, but I got one. We're going to go nuts on. We're going to bash Power Slap and then specific divisional analysis, 170 welterweight, maybe the holy grail of divisions.
For that. All right. Good,
and I'll tell you why. Then the upcoming card analysis, we're going to go to Laron Murphy versus Emmett, and then and this is the funny thing. Usually this doesn't happen. Usually you complain that the one that's 2 weeks out isn't the big one. And I told you, if you just weathered the storm, you just mathematically went through it. We're going to end on a big pay-per-view, which I believe is 314.
It's
Volk
big.
versus Lopez. Okay.
That's
and
big.
then give our fight picks on both of those cards. And then the if you were to touch segment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So really quickly, before we start the show, let's just do a quick commercial break.
Sounds good. All right.
Okay, and we're back to the show. We're going to get into this. Boom. Okay, now listen. For the real savvy fans, they know that I've already done a deep analysis on this, which I believe you just listened to, so you'd be ready for action here. Edwards Brady in London at the O2 Arena. Listen, what we're going to do really quickly, because we didn't count, I'm going to just very, very quickly count up the picks. Okay, so we both hit Wood. Which was probably screws you, because you would have called the underdog. Normally, I would have gone with Charrier, right?
I know, I was surprised you didn't take Charrier, and I would have been what?
Yeah, we both had the urge of taking Wood, so we both go 1-0 there, okay? Then Chris Duncan, we shouldn't have doubted this.
Big mistake. I almost took Duncan. I had him in my sights. I like Duncan. I like that he just has this working class kind of vibe to him. I think he would have been great to take, but we went for the favorite, and we got hit there.
Yeah, so we should have. That was another one that you almost were on the verge of taking. So we go 1-1. Then this is where I take Thanara. You go with the hometown girl, McCann. She gets submitted quickly in the first round. I take the victory.
Let me just say something about this. I think the story of that fight is the pre-walkout of Thanara. Did you see that? It was the best walkout. I know. It was insane. It was that was the story above the story. That was the one. It was like the walkout.
Yeah, that was bigger than the fight, maybe.
It was almost bigger than the fight. Anyway.
And then this is where we're going to stop, and I'm going to give you the floor for your analysis somewhat. I just wanted to rip through those first 3. right? So I'm 2-1, you're 1-2 for the night. We'll total up the picks later. Okay, then we get, and this is a big swing fight. I take Nelson. You and Richie Boy take Holland.
Yes, I
And
do.
listen, let me analyze it one more time, and then I'll let you go because I'm
Yes.
sure you have something to say here. Okay. I still think, yes, Holland landed more, but a lot was from the bottom. Did he do it? I don't know if he even did enough, but anyway, you get the decision. I don't hate it because he got more strikes landed and he did have the big knockdown of round one, but I thought maybe Nelson's control in 2 and 3 could have been enough to win it. And essentially, here's the crazy thing. If Holland doesn't get that knockdown in round one, Nelson wins this fight. But
That's
anyway,
true.
because then he would have got probably, because they would have got 2 rounds out of that.
Yes.
So anyway,
Here's my quick thoughts here, Ari.
here's your
The reason
quick
I took
thoughts.
Holland was because there is a pattern, a perennial pattern with this Holland guy where he'll lose like 2 straight fights. Don't quote me on that, but it feels like
Yeah.
he loses 2 straight fights and just just obliterated. And then he comes and he shows, okay, he has a better matchup and he kind of shows what he's about and he kind of resets himself. Not for like some serious run, but just to say, okay, I'm still viable. You can throw me some bones, Dana, okay, and just to keep the entertainment factor going. But I just had a feeling it was his time to win one, okay, because he had lost a couple. It was his time to win, and I did think he won that fight just with the more significant strikes. He kind of took it there, and it was the knockdown that was a difference in round one that made the fight. And if it had gone Nelson, I wouldn't have lost my mind either because it wasn't that impressive. But it was like classic Holland.
And look, I just want to make one other comment. I know before we were like, why is Holland on the main card? Like, enough with these ridiculous, entertaining fights, Dana. And I still agree. However, I'm a huge fan of the Bisping Felder podcast, and Holland came on as a guest. And he actually was quite eloquent. He spoke well, and I kind of liked him a lot, even more than we already liked him after listening to the interview. However, I don't like, and Felder even kind of questioned him and said, like, listen, pick a home. He didn't really fully say that, but he said, like, listen, You're better at welterweight. You get wrestled by the guys at middleweight. You almost got still wrestled here, but he did enough to win. He's a big frame. I feel like Holland, stay at welterweight. Stay here. I know it's hard to make the weight. Stay here and actually go for the belt. I don't like how Dana and them are just allowing him to jump back and forth because he's entertaining. It's a go for a belt, or why are you in the sport is the last thing that I'll say.
And I think he made the right move to come back down, and I think he got the win for the exact reasons you said. And I think he needs to stay home. Yeah, stay the course here. Stay the course.
So anyway, we'll see, we'll see what he does here. He's going to do a quick turnaround because he likes to fight a lot. Okay, then we get into the big fights. Blachowicz, Oberg. We were both smart enough to take Oberg. I'll go really quickly and then I'll let you, because I already analyzed this last week. But again, Oberg wasn't that impressive, but he did just enough, I think, to steal 2 rounds because Jan just didn't go enough. And then when he did, he was too slow and his bombs weren't landing, and Oberg got away. And then he got him with the leg kicks. He just was more active. He was more busy. Jan should have gone for broke. Some people thought, Blachowicz maybe won. I'm like, yeah, but he didn't do enough to. In round 2, he did crack him a little bit, and I think Blachowicz gets round 2, but I think Oberg gets 1 and 3. We both hit that. What is your, and actually one last thing. I think now maybe Jan's not done, but I think now he's at the back half of the ending of the career. He's 42. Maybe they give him one other kind of farewell fight and maybe has another knockout in him, but I just don't think he can be champ now. Anyway, what's your thoughts?
he's been fighting under he's been fighting draws basically for a while now. Like, he's been just fighting to a draw essentially with a give or take either way. And I think this was another example of that. I think that he probably showed Erlberg a little bit of his power in that fight, and that's what made Erlberg a little bit more pitter-patter, a little bit keeping the distance. I was disappointed with Erlberg's performance, to be honest with you, Ari. Like, maybe was suggested in your take here that he did enough. Sure, he's a faster than Blachowicz, but it was just a few leg kicks. He didn't do anything impressive. He didn't take any risks, and it just didn't show his striking package, in my opinion, in this fight. And so I was disappointed. Jan, you did, you did show up again. You fought valiantly, and I appreciate your effort. But you're kind of sort of just now kind of spinning your wheels a little bit. I don't see much more for Blachowicz. But again, hats off to him for his career and his amazing mark on the sport. Urberg, you're going to have to show up next time. I know you can't always put on a crazy performance. So we'll let one slide. But you need to step up next fight. You need to come in strong.
But I will comment to that, Nico. And if you remember, my analysis was, listen, not every fight they're going to be throwing bombs, going for it. Because here's the thing. You're at light heavyweight. One punch, you're done. And especially against Blachowicz, who's known for the Polish power. And when they did have a little bit of a firefight in round 2, that's when Jan actually had his success. So yes, maybe it wasn't the most exciting win. He didn't do a ton, but dude, you got to get wins, because think about how you and me are so quick. If someone loses 3 or 4 straight, they're done. We never want to hear from them again, right? So in their defense, the UFC is not an easy sport to be successful in, right? I know. If you need to just get wins, because boom, 1, 2, 3 losses, your whole career could be over.
You're right. And this is a 6 versus 3. He just gets this victory under his belt. Now he's fighting for potentially even a championship fight.
Exactly.
Right? So he had to be smart, and I'm not saying that, but I was a little bit disappointed. I could feel Dana's voice in my head saying, I'm not liking this. I'm not loving this here.
Right. Fine. Okay. And so anyway, we both hit that. We're smart to take Ulberg there, even though it was a little bit sad to see Blachowicz probably be sort of his swan song, but still a valiant effort for one of his last fights. Okay. I, of course, smartly take, I've already done my analysis. I take Brady. To right now, he's a grappling phenomenon. He dominated Edwards better than Muhammad did, better than Usman could.
Absolutely.
So I've already said my piece. What do you say here?
Okay. Where is that fighting spirit of Leon Edwards? Where is that underdog spirit that kind of shocked the world, where he came back in the 5th round against Usman, and he's this like kind of this rags to riches story, or this sort of underdog story? Where is that fighting spirit? I didn't see it. Leon, you are doing a lot of feints. You're keeping your distance. You're worried about the takedown, but you had to take some risks in this fight. You had to move in closer. You had to show your striking superiority, and you just weren't able to do that. And here comes in Brady, who was just stronger. He was even impressive on the feet, matched Edwards even almost
in that first round.
Yeah, in that first round. So Brady now has become the story. You are absolutely right that it was a more impressive on the ground than even Usman was versus Edwards, than even Muhammad was versus Edwards. And so Brady's a force to be reckoned with here. Let's see where he is placed next. Does he get the title shot? Ari, what do you think?
So listen, normally I would go right into that, but because the timeline is just lining up so perfectly, today is the welterweight analysis. I'm going to save that.
Okay, good.
I'm going to save that for later. Okay, so everybody can be pumped, but I will say, I still think it's Rakhmonov. But Brady's right there. But then now I'm going to show you the logjam situation, though, when we get there, because now it's sort of like, well, there's 2 guys waiting. Oof. So Brady actually, here's the thing, because I've been staying up on my podcast, Brady also came in on the Bisbing podcast. I love how they bring in the fighters right away. And Brady's saying he'll be active. He's not going to sit there because he thinks it's probably Rakhmonov. He's actually down to, and I'll show you when we do the analysis.
Okay.
But Brady might fight down a little bit just to stay busy, because he has a point to prove with some other contenders. Fair. Like an Usman potentially. Wow. So I'll get to that.
Okay.
But anyway, pretty great card. Good. I mean, I love it was so nice having the audience back, the crowd, the Apex.
We needed that vibrant energy. We needed that feel. And in London, when you get those
Yeah.
oh, going throughout the audience. You're like,
Yeah, yeah.
all right, that's like a night and day contrast with like the Apex, which is just
Yeah,
like
it's like the
deafening
soccer
silence.
chants.
And
You get
like,
the soccer
you get the soccer
chants.
chants in there, man. Come on. It's
Yeah.
great. It's
So
great.
so anyway, I go to 4-2 for the night. You're 3-3, which puts my lead up to 5 fights. It's a
Yeah, I know.
monumental. I'll give you a little bit later the full official count, but let's jump straight into last night.
Wow.
Okay. Moreno, Erzeg in Mexico. And again, it was great. It was like I told
Good
you, we're going to be a
energy.
couple cards away from the fucking Apex, right? So we're going to be a bit quick about this because we
Yeah.
didn't have a ton of picks, because if people remember, the true savvy fans, there wasn't all the lines yet. So we weren't able to, and they were still getting the fucking main card together. I don't like how they do that 2 weeks out. So I'm going to call out one thing though before we get there. One thing to note, Costa has won 3 straight. So he's maybe a featherweight on the rise. He beat Rodriguez, who was a guy who beat Rosas Jr. before. So he's just someone, he's a Brazilian to look at. I wouldn't say I'm over the moon about him, but just, hey, keep note of that. You know, we're the experts here, so we're keeping note of even the prelim fights. Now, the big one I want to talk about, and then we'll rip through the main card, is my new guy, Gautier. Okay? He looked like a young Ngannou out there. He's a beast. He's from Cameroon. Now, listen, we always get enamored by the guys who come in with a
Right.
big knockout, and then we think, oh my God, they're the future champ, but then we don't know what is his wrestling like, what's his jiu-jitsu like.
Yeah.
So
How
maybe
well
it's a
rounded
little,
is he? We don't know.
yes. So it could be quick to judge it, but I just love, he got performance of the night, $50,000 richer for some of those young guys. That's
Good for
big
him,
money.
man. That's good.
And now it's another middleweight. Think about how we keep talking about the middleweight division. Another new guy was probably a couple fights away from the top 15, but that's just unbelievable to me there. So
You mentioned the
okay.
50K. Is with inflation, has that gone up at all? We gotta get
Not
that up for them. Come on.
well, so it's
They deserve
that
a little
actually.
something more there, you know?
So really quickly, I've been planning on addressing that in the future because that's a
Okay.
state of the MMA world topic. But
Yeah.
since you brought it up, I think that they should at least go to 75 or 100.
I
Now,
agree, man.
they did this though a couple times, and so Dana said he won't go back up again. There was a couple cards where people, like, during the press conference, were like, Dana, make the bonuses 300K and we'll go crazy. And he did it twice. And the last time he did it, the fights were even less impressive. So Dana's like, well, why am I doing it if I'm not even getting more finishes? It was like there was a crap load of decisions. And he's like, I'm never going back up again because we're overpaying for stuff. But I do agree with you. It should be 75 to 100.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair.
So anyway, let's just talk about
Okay.
the main card. We didn't have picks here, so I'll just
But
quickly
can I
talk
say
about.
something about the Borjas fight, because that
Yeah,
was
take
insane.
over the Borjas.
Okay, this
fight.
Borjas, I think he's from is he Peruvian
He's
or Bolivian?
Peruvian, as
Peruvian.
you can see there.
This guy was an understated phenom here, because Rodriguez was actually the more dynamic. You know, this guy was getting clonked and then doing backflips and jumping right back up as if nothing happened the entire fight. I had never seen more athleticism featured in a fight than these two guys going at it. But the Borjas just stayed calm and collected and would clonk him, and this Rodriguez just popped right back up, and he just, took care of business. Very good win for Borjas. He is someone to keep an eye on here. So very exciting.
Yeah, and that was all I was pretty much going to say. I remember that first round, he connected with the right. That was so fierce. And Rodriguez recovered.
He bounced backward and flipped. He backflipped out of it and was back up. And it was like, okay, let's keep going.
You know what? It's a testament to it's the flyweight division, right? Remember we talked about this. So it's the opposite spectrum of heavyweight, where you can get hit with the big shots
and still
get back up more. And they're so athletic and great. Sometimes you will get knocked out, but like there's less power in it. So sometimes you can connect, but that first punch though looked like it should have been a knockout.
It should have been,
but
then the guy was pressing the whole rest of the fight. Rodriguez kept going, so kudos to him for his fight there, and that was just fun to watch. That was fun.
So let's just go. We didn't have a pick on that. Then this next one, I think, is the story for me. I mean, Martinez looked amazing. He got a knockout in the first round. He had unbelievable hands. I think some great kicks. Oliveira got dropped. The bigger story, though, well, he gets performance of the night, which is great. But the bigger story is he also is a surgeon. But what I thought right away was, how are you going to be a surgeon and then fight? Because what if you break your hand or destroy your knuckles and then you can't operate? But I guess so. Like, to me, that seemed kind of crazy. But Martinez looked great. Do you have anything to add here before we
No.
move
Other
on?
than that, I think he deserved it. Was he a performance of the night? Because that was
Yes,
a very,
another
very
performance of
strong
the night.
performance and very impressive. And I'm glad he got that win. I was happy
Yeah.
for him.
Yes. So now we get to your boy Rosas Jr. Now here's there's two stories here, and then I'll let you go.
This guy, this Rojas Jr., right? Like he's got a fan base. He's out there doing this. Like he created this like.
Yeah, I don't like it at all.
I don't like, it's kind of
terrible. The
cheesy and it's
chi wee
terrible.
wee thing. Yeah, it
It
was
is,
like,
what
are you
is
trying
it?
to be tough? Like, what is that? I don't like it. But so hold on. Let me I'll give my take and then I'll let you, because I know this is your guy. You're going to want to talk about it. Here's the two tales to this story. One is how the strength of Rosas Jr. is out of control to be only 20 and to be picking up a 34-year-old guy who normally has the man strength in, and basically picked him up in the first round and chucked him around.
Right.
So he definitely wins the fight. But the other bit of the story is Morales almost had him in the submissions twice. And so, like, what I love about it, hey, this is the UFC, man. You can't just pick somebody up and just think you're going to run through everybody. Everybody's got a ground game. So Morales actually had him in that crazy, I think it was like a Darce choke in the second round and almost finished it. And then near the end of the third, almost got it again. And luckily, Rosas Jr. just barely squeaked 2 rounds out to get the win. And it showed that Morales actually was pretty impressive too, but that's all I have to say. What do you got there?
Rojas Jr., who did he get next? I'm very curious. Will he have a crack, at the top 15? Is that going to happen sometime soon here? That's what we're all wondering. He's got star power. He's got that it factor. So let's not count him out. No one's counting him out, but let's not, undersell that. That's a big deal for him at his age. He's building a bit of a brand here. So
I
something
think
to keep an eye on.
I think the next fight is right outside of the top 15, and then you got to start saying, hey, let's go for it, right? Because it's sort of like he's had 4 or 5 fights now. It's like you might as well. I think he gets 2 more outside of it. And then, because that one was sort of like, it wasn't as decisive as you would have wanted to then be like, all right, he's ready, because Morales almost submitted him. So that was,
I hear you.
Anyway, all right, let's keep moving. But definitely someone, the chi wee wee thing is terrible. Yeah. They got to change that. Okay. Chairez versus Vergara, another flyweight to watch out for. A lot of Mexican flyweights popping up here. Hit him with an amazing left, drops him, then gets the choke. It wasn't even under the chin, but I think you're right. Vergara kind of had quit at that point because he was so hurt from the punch that he was kind of like, all right, let me get out of there. Boom, in another one in the first round. So there was a lot of finishes, which of course the crowd always likes. But so that's all I really have to say about it. Do you have any more to say?
No, that's exactly right.
Impressive.
I just felt Vergara, basically gave up, and he was just done. He got clonked. He was out. He was like, I can't even defend this submission here. He just gave up. He tapped out. Done.
Yeah, and so then you get to, and here's a couple comments. Losing the Pyfer fight was a big bummer.
It was a loss.
That was to me the second, maybe even the biggest fight for me. Yes, of course, there's Morena Erzeg we're going to talk about, but I love Pyfer Gastelum because, as we know, Gastelum was a top 10 for a very long time. He actually he fought for the interim title against Izzy and took him all the way to a 5th round. So at least it's still, even though he doesn't have a number now, he still has prestige. And then Pyfer's right outside of the top 15. He finally suffered his first loss, remember, against Hermanson, but then he came back and he knocked out Barrio. He's another middleweight. We're all very excited for it. He goes down. So the card gets jeopardized, and I feel like even though there was the Mexican crowd and that was cool, I wasn't as emotionally, because it's like, dude, Dana's light cards, I think, struck again a little bit, because especially it wasn't his fault that we lost Pyfer. But as soon as you do it, you're looking and you're saying, Dober, we love Dober, but Dober is the co-main event of an entire Mexican card. Where the fuck is Rodriguez and Ortega and all these other guys that probably should have been on this card? Yeah. I know we're going to talk Rodriguez's book somewhere else, but it's like, you can't get any other top 15 guys on the fucking entire card. And then anyway, so I felt like
Pfeiffer was a big deal. I think that kind of just really sucked the life out of the card. But to be fair, I still enjoy this card because there was a lot of KOs, there were submissions, there was and there's just the energy. of the crowd. It was still a good event. Definitely suffered a loss there. And then Dober as the co-main is just a shocker. Torres just really, showed what he's capable of there versus Dober. It's very disappointing for Dober. I don't know what's going on. I think Dober's never really lived up to what he might have, been.
He's a great striker. I guess the story more is Torres that good? We don't know.
It's hard to know off of this.
Yeah, because Dober, he's a great striker, and he was coming off a win. He had reset his career. It's hard to say, but man, Torres catches him with that right, and it was over. And then Dober didn't even know the fight was over, and he got with the hammer fist.
Saying, "Come on, what are you doing?"
They had to stop it. So I mean, it just maybe So again, this is a story of a lot of great Mexican guys coming up on this card. So maybe he's a new problem at lightweight, but we don't know. It's hard to see from this, but he's definitely someone to look out for, right?
Yeah.
Now, and I almost forgot we had picks on that, and you hit. I took Dober stupidly. You had the balls to take Torres, so you cut the lead down only to 4 fights, which was big because that could have been again a swing to get me up 6, and then you would have been months away.
Definitely.
Okay, so main event. This is the big one, I think, with the most discussion points. Moreno, Erzeg. Now, I'll break it down and I'll let you jump in. Like, here's the thing. I gotta say, I wanted a little bit more from Moreno. I think he wins round 1. He has the bigger punches. You were even, like, oh my God, Moreno's killing him. Then Erzeg fought back. I thought round 2 was really close. It could have gone to either guy. I think they gave it to Moreno, but I wouldn't have hated if it was. And then the third one, I think, was where actually Erzeg won. And I was like, oh my God, he's turning the fight. And I was thinking, damn, what's going on with Moreno? And so it could have been 2-1 Moreno or 2-1 Erzeg at that point. It was very hard to say. And then, as we talked about via text, Erzeg just kind of faded, and Moreno I don't think Moreno did a ton in 4 and 5, but he did enough to win them. And I didn't leave this being like, what an epic, monumental fight, but he did enough to win. I think most of the judges gave it to him 4-1, but it could have been 3-2 in some people's eyes. But either way, he did enough to win. I think at least Erzeg was valiant enough to stay in with the boxing. He didn't have the power to deal with Moreno and contend, but I think he really faded in 4 and 5.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts there?
My thoughts here is that I was actually very impressed with Moreno. This guy had speed. He had endurance. I mean, he kept that motor going throughout all 5 rounds. I thought he was going to gas out after the first couple, and he kept his energy high. And I think that was the difference in the fight. And by the way, his striking, his strikes, there were some strikes that were just much more significant than Erzeg's. Like they were landing more clean. They were making the difference in this fight. And his just body movement and his head movement, he was keeping Erzeg off. Erzeg's timing was off as well, I thought, in this one. And honestly, I thought Moreno, I think your analysis right up into the third, it could have been 2-1 either way there. But I did feel Moreno pretty much had this fight locked in, especially when he hit the 4th and the 5th round. He started to separate and show why he this was his night. Erzeg, he really was. I was surprised he stayed very cool at getting hit the way he was getting hit, and being a bit unfazed by it. Like, it didn't seem like he got rocked, but you're right. It was a slow peter of energy. And by the 4th and 5th round, he kind of was just fading, not doing much, passive. And Moreno just overtook him. And it was a clear, decisive victory for Moreno. Very exciting fighter, Moreno. I like his style. I think he deserves a crack very soon. He should get the next crack here at a championship.
That's what I actually wanted. Right. Since we're not doing flyweight, let's just look at that really quickly. And so here, so if you can see at the top, you can see Pantoja, right? Pantoja actually doesn't have a fight right now, which is interesting because he beat that Japanese guy who had come in unranked, Asakura, which I thought was a bit ridiculous that they gave him that fight. But anyway, he's sitting there. Royval is sitting there because Royval just got hurt when he was supposed to go up. It was supposed to be Royval Cop. Remember, Royval got hurt, and so Almabayev stepped in. So now Bazi's off the loss. Cara France is coming off a big win. So it's like, okay, so this is probably what's going to happen. He's probably, since there isn't someone booked with Pantoja, they're probably going to say Moreno Pantoja. Why not? Because he's coming off the win. I wouldn't say it was an amazingly exciting, earth-shattering win, but he's there. I mean, he's there, number 2 in the world. And then, or he could, if Pantoja's not ready to fight, maybe you rebook Moreno Cara France 2 or something like that, or a Moreno Royval rematch, because remember Royval eked out a close decision, which you were unhappy about.
I mean, I'm wondering what Cop is up to next.
And Cop's right there.
That's the exciting decision that has to be made. Who is his next opponent? We don't want to get into it much here, but yes, I do think the more likely scenario is Pantoja Moreno. That's probably what's going to happen here.
Yeah, because he's not booked. He's not booked, right? Unless Moreno needs a layoff, unless he's hurt from the fight and he can't. That there's a lot of different variables. But anyway, that's what I wanted just to look at briefly there. So let's do this really quickly. Let's take another quick commercial break. Okay, and we're back, baby. So we're going to go straight back into, oh, yes. Okay, so let's just total up. I didn't do the total earlier. So this is where we now live. In the first one, I went 4-2, you went 3-3. But then you rallied nicely. You went 2-0 on the Mexico card, and I went 1-1, okay? So the totals right now, it leaves me at 19-11 for the year. Looking good. It's a great record.
That's pretty good.
But now you have gone back to 500, baby. You're 15-15 after the Mexico card, okay?
Okay.
And you closed it to a 4-fight gap.
Deficit.
So you're looking, 4-fight deficit, right? So, and then really quickly, because we always are, if you were to touch, we went 2-2, okay? So we hit on Moreno. We hit Rosas Jr. because remember, you called out. You said, I don't care if I don't see the line yet. I'm touching Rosas Jr. He hit. But then we lost Jan because we just said, well, that could be a nice payout if he lands Polish power.
Right.
And we also lost Edwards, even though I almost was leaning towards Brady was the better if you were to touch. But in all honesty, we did say Edwards. But that's still good. We went 2-2 on, we went 500 on if you were to touch segment.
Great.
Okay. So with that, there isn't a ton of news, but I got some stuff for you. Okay. Blanchfield versus Barber, baby. Let me explain to the real MMA fans why this is big. It's number 3 in the world versus number 4 in the world on a fight night. You're going to take that, okay? It's Apex, which I don't like. This is the women's flyweight division at 125. Blanchfield was an undefeated American phenom until she finally lost to Farrow. Macy Barber, and she's a great grappler. Macy Barber has unbelievable hands, but she kind of lost a little bit early in her career. She got saved by some really iffy split decisions, and then now she's been on an unbelievable run. She's won like 6 straight. So why I like this fight is because Shevchenko is already booked with Farrow for the title. That's big. This will be your number 1 contender fight, probably to get the winner there. Either Blanchfield gets a rematch, against it. Let's say Farrow does beat Shevchenko, she'll be in the mix. Barber then is there. So it's on the women's MMA side. This is huge. It was just announced this week. I've actually been a huge Barber fan. You would actually like her. She throws bombs. Yeah, and so at both American hopefuls for future American champs. Great. So, for a fight night, you're going to touch it.
We'll take
it. So, take it. Okay. Moving on. The news is that there is no news. That's the news here. And I want to dissect this for you. Okay, I want to put this into your head.
It's a blank slate right now.
So, UFC 317. Why am I looking at this, Nico?
Yeah,
well, look at the date. June 28th. That's International Fight Week. It's usually either in early July, right before 4th of July, or it's depending on it, or it's in June, depending on how the year falls. Okay, everybody comes to Vegas, and that's why it's deemed International Fight Week. All the fans from around the world, and Dana always packs big fights. Okay, there's been rumors that it's going to be for a while that it should be Jones Aspinall. Okay, but we know they're fucking dilly-dallying. But so let's look at the calendar. We have exactly 3 months before this takes place, which means Dana has to book it. You need a 3-month camp, right?
Exactly.
So I'm always looking at that. I'm ahead of the game. I'm looking at this. I'm scouring the internet. So here's the thing. It either has to be Jones Aspinall, Topuria Islam or Chimaev DDP. Okay, and it could be both.
This is the thing. Why does it have to be an either or situation? I can
absolutely
visualize a card that two of those three are on the same card, and that would be one of the biggest cards if in the year, but if not ever, if that happens. Like seriously, imagine you had Topuria Islam and you had Jones Ospinall on one card. That could be one of the biggest cards ever. Like
yeah. So this is my guess. I don't think we're going to see Jones Ospinall because Jones is shaming. However, I don't know if you saw Tom, he met with the UFC recently and he said that they gave him great news. He tweeted out, he said, I got great news coming soon. I still think, however, that only just means that Jones has finally agreed to the contract, but it's going to be much later in the year. He's going to push the 6 months BS. He's going to drive you up the wall. He's going to make Ospinall wait. Ospinall get rusty and try to come in and do his mind tricks.
Exactly, mind tricks.
So I don't think you're going to see Jones. My guess is this. My guess is you will see Islam Topuria unless Islam tries to also wiggle out because he loves doing that. He's complaining. But here's the thing. In Islam's defense, they're making him fight another featherweight. I don't like it either. If I was Islam, I'd be like, fuck that. I don't like that. And then you might get DDP Chimaev, but Chimaev's also hard to book. And it's like, so I don't know, but you're probably at least going to get one of those.
Okay. All right. Well, and one of those three still massive because they can build some more cards, some more fights around.
Otherwise, Dana is going to have to manufacture another last-second Pereira booking or something bullshit. If it ends up being Ankalaev Pereira 2, I'm going to be great. I'm going to be fucking pissed. I'm going to be like, just because all these other guys
that's not bad.
Wiggle around and they take two. No, it's not a good fight. We've seen it. We don't want to run that back.
But I want to see Jiri. I want to see Jiri there, okay?
If it's okay, if we get DDP Chimaev, and then it's Jiri Ankalaev in the co-main, I'm happy.
That's
okay.
Huge.
I'm happy with that. And then let Islam and Jones take forever and make you wait fucking 3 more months. Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to show that so it's in your head. You can see how this is why I'm always on the ball, bro, because I'm looking 3 months ahead. You know what I mean? Okay.
We got to anticipate the trend.
2 other little pieces here. Your boy, Horiguchi. This is why I always said when you used to diss Bellator, and used to say, I don't want to watch. I said, listen, you got to pay attention to Bellator a little bit. So when they come over, which will be a theme later today, because we're talking about Patricio Pitbull, Horiguchi, remember, was your boy. Bellator, remember, he loses to Pettis because of that. He was up. It was a title fight. Pettis hits him with the spinning back fist and steals the belt from him. And so since then,
that's been
he had gone to Rizin, which is a big Japanese organization. He's still been winning. He hasn't been as amazing as dominant as he once was, but he's vacating his Rizin title. He's saying, I'm coming back. And this is why flyweight is getting more exciting. He's a flyweight. He's coming back in. He's going to try to come and maybe make a run at some of those other guys. So I love these bookings because now all of a sudden, he might be able to fight Cop. Or he might be able to fight Royval right off the bat, and then another guy, and then let Moreno take Pantoja. You see what I mean? And or he could even fight Tyra and have an all-Japanese fight, which could also be insane.
Yeah, he brings a lot of spice to the class there. I think this is going to be exciting.
And the other big thing is, this is something I bring up all the time, the international, but there's never been a Japanese-born male or female UFC champion. There has been a Chinese female, Zhang Weili. So he just claimed, he's like, I'm going to come back. And, I don't know. He's a little bit older. He's 34. I went back and looked at his record. He had kind of finally lost a couple. And I was like, okay. But now then he went on a winning streak back in Rizin. So he's got a shot.
Okay.
Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up.
That's great.
It's another big part of the news. Okay. Now we're going to go straight into the state of MMA content here. Okay. And
good.
Actually, it transitions nicely because it's news, but it goes into our feelings of the state of MMA. Yep. Okay. So our guy Rogan recently also came out in an article that I think you can see right here.
Yep.
And I like that he's standing up, even though he's Dana's boy. I like it that he can have his own voice. Because listen, we're both Dana guys.
Right.
We still, if there's an issue, we got to bring it up. Okay. So Joe Rogan says, UFC Dana White fucked up picking slap fighting over kickboxing. And so
But
basically, I
what was
read
the
the
kickboxing
article.
piece? Was it gonna be that they were gonna there
Well,
was a chance they could have, like, elevated kickboxing and promoted it somehow more? Is that what was going on?
Well, they're looking at other things because Dana's
I
also
see.
now doing boxing promotion. And so Rogan had always been saying, hey, if you want to take on other stuff along with MMA, do kickboxing. It's so much, it's
It's so
all stand
connected.
up. It's
Yeah.
connected. All the kickboxing champs like Adesanya, Pereira, all these famous kickboxers always come over, and it's very exciting. There's all these knockouts, and there's a similar, it's one of the most important arts that you move over to become MMA, right?
Yes,
And
exactly.
instead, and I like this
Oh,
just
instead,
pisses.
stop fighting, don't even get me going on stop
So
fighting.
this goes into our sort of more of a state of the MMA world topic. So we both have from the beginning have just hated the slap fighting or whatever the fuck you call it. Slap, what do they call slap boxing? I don't even. Let's just discuss it really quickly. So for the people that don't know, um, yes, it gets tons of views on Instagram, but any dumb thing gets tons of views on Instagram.
Yeah.
Who cares that it gets
Knucklehead.
tons of views?
Yeah, who
What it
cares?
does is, first of all, it's ridiculous. It's so stupid. You don't even get to defend yourself. Why? The beauty of MMA is yes, there's barbaric stuff and there's knockouts, but it's the two best arts or three or four best arts going against each other, right? And
Right.
being able to defend each other from the offense. This is just dumb, drunken redneck, just like
Yeah.
I can't even, I'm almost speechless here. I hate it so much. And I hate that the other thing that it's doing, and I'll get your take on it, is it's just like we talked about before. Remember
Yeah.
how we said that MMA could become, or UFC could become one of the biggest sports in the world? This is killing that. This is saying, hey guys, remember how you used to say that MMA is barbaric and it's human cockfighting? Well, now we're just giving you more fuel to the fire and saying we're dumb, we're idiots, and we just like drunken guys slapping each other. Right? It's beyond ridiculous.
I mean, I think the reason Dana's doing this is because it probably gives him a volume play. Like you said, you pick up all of these, you know, numb nuts around around the world, around the country that are going to follow this thing, and it's a bunch of clicks, and maybe it gives him some more volume. He can advertise, all that kind of stuff. But for me, it's devaluing the brand. It's devaluing what what UFC is about. Like we talk, I use like the word the seriousness of it, right?
Yes.
The serious competitive aspect of it that like is now been relegated to like below WWE. It's like below boxing. This slap fighting. It's
This
like
is
the
even worse
biggest
than
joke.
wresling.
It's a
I'd rather
joke. It's
watch
worse than
freaking
wrestling.
WWE than
Exactly.
this.
Then this is like the it's like watching like eating contests or something. Like how many
Yeah.
people can eat a sandwich? Like who cares? That's not anything.
Who cares?
Worth,
Hot dog eating?
right. I mean, come on. So it's taking us left field. It's taking us away from where we think the trajectory of UFC is headed. And I don't like it. I like that Rogan's calling it out. I like that Rogan's able to kind of voice his opinion on it, and again, Dana might have his business reasons that he thinks that this is the right thing to do. I don't think so. I don't think we need to get sucked down into that path. Let's stay on the UFC path. Kickboxing would have been a little bit more in line and aligned with the focus of MMA. And
Exactly.
so I don't know. So
So I
that's my
like that
feelings on
Joe's
it.
saying this because it's been, I almost just try to pretend that it doesn't even exist. When I see the commercials, I instantly shut it off. If I ever see Dana talking about online, I just look the other way. I just knock away like it doesn't even exist in the planet or the world, because all it's doing is bringing down our sport. Because now that if it's one thing if Dana just was an investor and he was investing in it, but someone else was running it, sure, make money, fine, don't
Right.
But it's like
exactly.
he's promoting it.
The
It's
face
like
of it. He's
his
promoting
thing.
it. Yeah,
He's the
it's
face
killing.
of it, and he's making guys like Bisbing and all these other guys come over and actually commentate on it and
You're
try
kidding.
to help him hype it up. And I'm just like, God, you can't do that. Now you have Bisbing, who's like our favorite commentator, one of my favorite shows, also doing it. It's just like, I don't like it. So anyway, I've been meaning to yell about this for a while, and then Rogan sent this thing, and I'm like, okay, we gotta.
Like
Something needs to be
you brought it up,
done
Ari. I'm glad
there.
that you elevated this to
Oh my God.
the state of MMA topic of the
Yes.
hour here. Thanks.
With that, let's go from the negative. Let's go to the ultra positive, baby. Our favorite segment.
Yes.
The divisional analysis. I mean,
Analysis.
this is just like, you can't get better, baby. So check this out. Today we are doing welterweight. So let me set the stage like I normally do.
Yes.
First, I want to talk about the division, the historical importance of the division. So we've talked about heavyweight. We've talked about light heavyweight. We've talked about middleweight. Now, as I mentioned before, in the early UFC days, it was always heavyweight, okay? Then light heavyweight made its prominence with Liddell, Ortiz, Couture coming down, and it was probably, as we said before, one of the most iconic. Then you get into middleweight, which we addressed last time, which Rich Franklin, then Anderson Silva, and that then they legitimized middleweight to like, oh my God, yeah, actually at 185, I love this. It was always like this slowly legitimizing the lighter classes because there was this stigma at first. If you weren't the biggest, it wasn't worth watching, right? Oh, I don't care about what these little guys are doing. Okay. Then you get down. Now let's talk about the history of welterweight because this is historically one of my all-time favorite divisions, and I'll tell you why.
Wow.
Okay, let's go back to the roots. We had Carlos Newton, who was a champ, and he was a great grappler, good striker, and then in comes a fellow by the name of Matt Hughes, okay? An American wrestler phenom, and if you haven't, this is another one. Put this on your list, Nico. Watch Matt Hughes, Carlos Newton 1.
Wow.
It's an unbelievable. I think I've showed you this fight before back in the cabin days. Hughes comes in and he defeats Carlos Newton with an heroic slam that knocks out the champ and he takes over, right? And then, of course, it's the Hughes era for a while. He does unbelievable stuff. Those fights against Trigg were legendary. And then, of course, GSP shows up. And he's the kryptonite. There's always the kryptonite, the next guy that takes on the old guy, right? And even though Hughes did beat GSP in the first one, GSP wins 2, GSP wins 3. I was actually devastated at the time because I was a Hughes guy. Then GSP was a long-running welterweight champ that then ruled the division for a long time, and that's why some people think he's one of the greatest of all time. He's in the top 3 of most people's lists. Okay,
Wow.
And then in present day, it's more Usman and Edwards and all these guys kind of carried the torch. But before I get into what we're saying, the last thing I want to say is this is the best division as far as you still have the size, you still have the power, but you have the athleticism, the cardio, the speed. Welterweight, to me, maybe even more than middleweight, because you know sometimes you see a middleweight, there's still a little bit of a big galoot, where welterweight is the perfect sweet spot. Where you get all that unbelievable power of the big, and you still look like a big hulking, like, scary guy.
I see what you mean.
But then you get out. So anyway, I think it's always been one of my favorite divisions historically. All right.
It's like the wide receiver division or something, or is it a running back division? I don't know.
Whatever metaphor you like. Jack running back, probably. Wide receivers would be the taller, Yeah. Okay, so let me break this down. I just like to do that. Like a lot of people online are loving my historical breakdowns of the division, so I had to give that to people. Okay, listen. 185 right now is still the most exciting, but there's some great stuff going on here. So we got Bilal, who's the champ. He's already slated to fight Jack Dell at number 5. So we already have that locked up, okay? And then before, we just saw Brady shock the world and beat Edwards. So Brady is your number 1 contender, although I think they should have kept Rakhmonov on there, but it is a leapfrog system, so the UFC was fair. So to answer your question earlier, Nico, and don't worry, I know you're chomping on the bit. I'll let you go when I'm done here, is do they give it to Brady or do they give it to Rakhmonov? Now, here's the thing. Muhammad Madalena is not till May. So there's actually there's time to think about it. There's time for Rakhmonov probably to heal. I still think Shavkat's next. Brady even said, hey, he'll fight back. He'll fight an Usman if he needs to. He'll fight a Gary if he needs to. But if you look at, so if you look at that top, so hold on.
Yeah.
Wait, let me go
understand.
through.
We already have Madalena Muhammad is already booked. We're talking about that next in line fight.
The next in line. Yes. Okay, then you look at Edwards. I think he needs to chill right now. I don't think he's going to beat one of the grapplers. I think he needs to take a little time off. He needs to work on his wrestling. He needs to say he's still number 3 in the world. I don't think he's done, but I think either they let him fight back. I don't even maybe let him take a now that Neal and Pratis is off, which we're going to talk about, maybe let him take a Jeff Neal and have a Strikers Delight type fight or something like that. Let him fight a Buckley. I like that for Edwards. And then that at least moves the division on. Buckley's going to strike with him. Does that let Edwards reset himself? The other key one in the top 5 is fucking Usman's been sitting there. I never liked that he went to middleweight to fight Chimaev, even though he was in the fight, because to me, he was still right there. I mean, in my eyes, he maybe won that last Edwards fight. So he's kind of dicked around. He hasn't fought in like a year. I think he was hurt. He's been trying to heal, also figure out what he wanted to do. But I feel like he's still a contender, and he's just kind of disappeared. I don't like that. Then you get to the 6 through 11. Buckley's coming off the huge win against Covington, but it was the cut. But I think he was dominating anyway. Then Gary is coming off the really close loss to Rakhmonov. But I'm not that impressed with Gary right now. And then Burns has just lost too many in a row, but he's gone through all the top guys. Neal, the only other booking that we had, Neal was against Prates, and that just got canceled, which we will talk about later. And then the only other thing that's booked is Burns versus Morales. Don't sleep on his 17-0 new phenom from Ecuador, I believe. Burns just keeps getting the tough matchups. I'm worried for him there. So then you get Gary, Buckley. They all need fights up. So I like either Gary or Buckley getting an Edwards, Usman having to fight one of these guys. You need to get Usman active, maybe, but then Brady needs a fight. So maybe you do an Usman Brady, you do a Gary Edwards or a Buckley Edwards. Okay, then you get into the bottom half, and then I'll let you take over. Now, Wonder Boy's done. Sorry, he can't deal with wrestlers. We love the guy. If he gets a striker, he always has a chance, but I'm sick of that. I'm sick of the Kevin Holland show. Neal, I love him. He's not going to be a champ, but he's got great hands. Our boy Richie Boy loves hands of steels. Neal, he's coming off a big win, and he was very valiant in the loss to Rakhmonov. He was in it. He was challenging him, and then he got choked out, but he was in there. And then, yes, Morales has a chance. Prates. Big Rich has been talking about this fight all week. Prates has won 4 straight. He's part of the Brazilian nerds. He's very scary. He could be a future champ. Luque, he did reset himself and get a win, but I don't think he's ever going to really be a champ. And then Page, he just dances around. He doesn't really do much, and he got that last win, but I was like, against Shara. So, listen, I don't know if it's the best, most exciting division right now because of just some moving musical chairs, but pretty good. I would say it's in my top 3 favorite. I'll finally let you now bless us with your thoughts.
All right, Ari, you know what I like to do a lot of the times, take a step back, look at the class with a big picture perspective and try to describe what we're seeing here. And the story that I see of this class here is old guard, new guard. Okay, we have the old guard moving in one direction, which is away from the top, and we have the new guard coming in. And I think it's very pronounced. That happens in any division, but in this particular division, if you look at your Edwards, if you look at your Usmans, if you look at your Burns and your Covingtons and your Thompsons, they're moving in the opposite direction of where they want to be moving, okay? That's the story here. And you even throw Neal in there, okay, as well. And then, and Luque and those folks, so you have one motion going that way, and the other direction, you have the new blood. You have this very, very talented, rising stars, and at this point, legitimate contenders. And you from obviously Mohammed's the champion, but you have Brady and Rakhmonov right there. You know what I'm saying? And Madalena, okay? And even throw Gary in there because he had a very close loss, and he's very much up there in and play.
Even Buckley now too. Even your boy Buckley.
Buckley's still alive. He still has that hunger. Okay, so this is a very exciting division in the sense that I think this old guard still has some fights in them, still has, they're no slouches here. So they're going to have to go up against some of this new guard and see where the new guard stands here. That's what's going to play out, okay, overall. So I didn't want to give you that high-level, big picture view of what I'm seeing. I'm not very impressed with Mohammed as a champion. I know you love Mohammed. I just don't see him. I think he's done well. He's solid, but I think someone needs to go in there and challenge him seriously and take care of business, okay? Madalena, let's let him give that first crack at it, but don't sleep on Brady coming up right there or Rakhmonov. Both those two can absolutely do damage at the top, okay? I think Gary is a sleeper here to keep an eye on. I think Buckley is a beast to keep an eye on. Very, very exciting, okay? And this Michael Page, is he ranked 15 over there?
He's 15. He's 15.
He's older. He's a little of an artist there. I think he's got something going on. So overall, to your point, though, what we need to see here is where Brady goes, where Muhammad goes next, okay? Because if we have Muhammad and Madalena lined up, that's really the exciting pieces. And then Usman, okay?
You
You
got to book
did
him.
fight a verse Chimaev, where, in my opinion, you almost could have gotten the win on that fight. I know you disagree with that,
No,
Ari.
yeah, it was
But
close. It
Usman
was
had a
close.
chance there to, it was very close because I think it was Chimaev had broken his hand or something, so he didn't have the ultimate performance there versus Usman. So let's see what Usman gets, what they give him, okay? And I feel bad about Burns because Burns is my guy. What he was able to do versus Chimaev was I think one of the best fights ever, okay? So to wrap things up, this is a top 3. I would say
Yeah, it's a
in
top
all of
3.
you
It's
is
a
a
top
top 3
3.
weight class. And we'll call it there.
And then the one thing which is very funny is that we barely even mentioned Covington. I just
I
want to go here.
know.
Covington was our guy, very impressive, but I think the long layout for when he got hit by Masvidal and then he went to court and all this stuff and all this nonsense, he's come back, and that in that Edwards fight, it was like he looked like a ghost, like a shell of himself. It was so embarrassing, but we thought maybe it was from the leg. He broke his foot. And we're like, all right, well, he's a wrestler. He can't, go for his takedowns if he's got a broken foot. But then in that last one, he came out like he's just not the same guy, and he let Buckley, but then it was the cut. Was it the cut, or it was like, So I just feel like, man, what a fall from grace on almost beating Usman multiple times, right? To then just being like, what is this guy? What is even going on with this guy? It's like, it's almost like shocking. And that's why you never want to take long layoffs. He took layoff because of the whole fight with Masvidal in the street. And then he went to like shoot him and all this stuff happened in a whole year. Plus he kept waiting. He kept waiting for fights. And then that's what happens. You're not active.
He's waiting and he's fading. He's waiting and he's fading. And that's what's happening.
Fading. Yeah.
And that's what's happening here.
So,
but when you've got the likes of like Muhammad, Brady, Rakhmonov, right, and Madalena and Gary and Buckley surging here, he's falling. Kobe is not falling. When maybe he has a chance to really show himself again. I'm not sure where these fights are. Dana, you need to start booking this division. I need to have fights lined up here. What's happening?
Well, in Dana's defense is like Muhammad, Madalena's May. Brady just fought. Rakhmonov's coming off the injury. Leon just fought. Usman, he's been sitting there, but give you Buckley, Gary. Anyway, we've said our piece. Let's move on. So before we get into the big picks, I want to take one last little break from our sponsors. Okay. So now we are going to end the show, baby, with our picks here.
Keep this a little bit rapid fire, right?
We'll keep it flowing. Yeah, we're going to keep it a little bit quicker than normal. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Yes, it's a little bit light. Yes, it's the Apex, which I don't love. But unlike the last couple Dana's light cards, I actually love this fight because Emmett's my guy, as you know, and he had gone on. It looked like he was probably done because he got battered by Topuria, right?
Right.
He lost,
even though
Rodriguez.
He was in it for a while versus Topuria,
he was
right?
in it. He was at least he was in it, but it looked like, oh god, he's probably not going to be at the top. And he also lost to Rodriguez after maybe being up, but then he got submitted, but then only to come back and just absolutely storch Mitchell with that big punch. Because of his power in his right hand, he's always a problem. Okay. Yes. So, and then Murphy, actually, I'm gonna hold, but Murphy is also now a new striking phenom. I wanted to say that I do love this main event. Now, let's go through this quickly because we got to make our picks. There's nothing on the prelims I wanted to say. So really quickly, Finney, Valentin, this is our first pick. I want to show you the odds here because it's not there. Finney is a minus 225. He's making his UFC debut. Valentin's coming off a loss. So I just don't know these guys enough. So with that, Nico, I'm touching Finney. What do you say?
I am touching Finney. I echo your thought process precisely on that one.
Okay, so we move on. Let's see, new guy, new blood, very interesting. Now, this one's a little bit tricky. I went back and forth. Now, here's the thing. Tavares, very durable guy, another guy. He's always been hovering right outside of the top 15. He's lost a couple straight, but he's got great striking, great grappling. Now, Mearshart, he's one of those guys, he loses a couple, he wins a couple because he's a great submission artist. He fought DeRitter, and he's also fought Kamaev. Now, in that DeRitter fight, he was actually up in parts of it, but then eventually he got submitted. So, Tavares, I think he's just more well-rounded. Mearshart only gets wins when the other guys bring him down, and then he does some crazy submission. But I think Tavares is too smart. He's too durable. He's going to keep it on the feet. He's going to pick Mearshart apart. Therefore, I'm taking Tavares, and I'm going with the minus 258 favorite. How do you fare here, Nico?
Tavares.
Yeah, so we're
Can't trust
aligned
Mearshart
here.
to do something
No,
here.
you
Can't
can't
trust
trust him. And this is like this is one of those ones where they keep him around because he keeps just winning enough to. But you're kind of like, I just don't know. Like I like Mearshart a lot. He's a stud on the ground, but is he a main card guy anymore? I just don't know. Okay. Now the other, here's the thing. There is, in Dana's defense, we got another top 15 fight on the main card, so it's not just one to go against Dana's light cards. Now I'll give you the background of Nchukwu. Okay, he is number 15 heavyweight in the world. He was a light heavyweight, and here's a little tidbit for you. He's the one guy to beat Olberg. Okay, Olberg made his debut a couple years ago, and Nchukwu got him in the second round. Okay, since then Olberg won 8 straight. Now, so Nchukwu used to be at 205, but he kept being up and down. He's started a new home at heavyweight, and he's won 2 straight by KO. So that's why he's so heavily favored at a minus 270. I wanted to take Boudet. I've looked at this because he's also won like 4 out of 5. This is actually a great heavyweight fight. I like this. The second best fight of the night. I wanted to almost take Boudet because I have a 4-fight lead on you, and I was just going to try to shake things.
I'm taking Boudet, baby. I'm taking Boudet. I jumped the gun here. I'm in there. You tell me you're taking Kennedy.
I'm taking Nchukwu. I couldn't do it because here's the thing. I wanted Boudet all week, but I kept looking at the analysis, and the line is just too much for me to overcome. If it had been like a Boudet, the minus.
But is Boudet a natural heavyweight, and Kennedy is not a natural heavyweight?
Yes,
or didn't start there, so I'm going to go Boudet. I like that underdog pick there, and maybe it'll give me a chance to narrow the gap even further. Let's see.
Then we go to Cortavius Ramius, your boy, versus Chang Ho Lee. Now, Ramius, he's coming off a loss. Lee's coming off a win. I don't know them well enough at all, so I'm being shameful, and I'm going with South Korea, and I'm going with the slight favorite. I'm touching Lee. What do you say, Nico?
Cortavius is my pick.
Wow.
All right. I like the slight underdog here. Maybe it's a bias. It's a U.S. fighter here, but I could see him pulling it off. I could see him pulling it off.
Now, so I like this. Now we got major point of contention. I'm already excited for next week. It is a little bit of a later card, which I like. It's a 9 p.m. start your time, so it's a little bit more of like a pay-per-view feel when they're later. Now, we get to the co-main, okay? We got Sabatini, American guy. I like him. He's kind of up and down a little bit. He's won some. He's lost some. He's coming off a nice win, though. And just so you can see Sabatini, look, he fought Lopez and he lost. Wow. He got knocked out, but he did beat Almeida, and then he beats Pierce. So he's right there in the mix against top featherweights. He's exciting. But then you got Brito. Very scary Brazilian. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 5 straight. And then he lost to Gomis, but we know Gomis is that Frenchman. And it was a split decision loss. So the smart pick is obviously you take Brito. He is a minus 205. But I'm taking Sabatini because he's my American guy. I like Sabatini. I'm going to take, it's my one underdog, secret pick of the night, co-main action. Do you take Brito and go against me, or do you go with me on this?
I'm gonna go Brito. I like Brito here. He's a favorite, and like his fight history, his win streak. I like that you're going Sabatini there. I get the gut pick there.
Yeah, I'm just taking a gut pick for fun. I'm taking it, because I got the lead. You took a couple. I've been planning on sneak attacking you with that one. All right, then you get to the big fight. I already kind of broke down Emmett. He looked like he's got one of the craziest right hands in all of UFC.
Yeah,
not just
the power of. I've never seen actually that level of power.
Major power, but he's getting up there in age. He came off the Topuria loss, but now we know Topuria is unbelievable. He then was up on Rodriguez, but then he gets submitted. But then to come back, so here's the issue: LaRon Murphy. You don't know that much about him yet, but this guy he's a striking phenom. So check this out. He's now won. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's beaten Barboza. That's where we actually watched him, and he just Mauled
Absolute
Barbosa. It was like, oh
mauled him,
my, it was like bad. Then he beats Ige also. And if you can beat Ige in a striking battle, you know you're doing good. So even though I'm going to be rooting Emmett, he's the slick guy from England. I like those English
I
guys.
want Murphy. I got Murphy here. I'm taking
We're
Murphy.
both touching Murphy to be
Okay.
safe. It's just,
Fair.
because here's the thing. I was going to take Emmett just for action, but all I can think of is when he goes against more of the technical guy like a Topuria, I don't think he can beat that level of boxing.
Yeah,
So I
and they're
think it's
young
going to
and they have speed and they're going to be able to get, tactically be able to kind of outmaneuver him. I get it. So I'm with you. I think Luran Murphy is the pick here. Let's see how it plays out.
Yeah,
Let's
I
look at the
almost
next card.
wanted to
Bring
just
it
say,
on.
give me Emmett and just go crazy, but it's like he's just searching for the right hand. When that doesn't come in, he ends up, and Murphy after that Barboza, I'm like, man, I'm not going against this guy until I see someone that can contend with him. All right, so that's next week. I think pretty exciting, actually, once you look through it. I like the card. I don't, and then we're gonna go. And this never happens. Remember, I started the card by saying we don't usually end on a big note, baby. You're
Yeah,
usually
we're ending on the
complaining
biggest. We're ending on the biggest here.
right?
Yeah.
UFC 314 in Miami.
Wow.
Volkanovski,
Wow.
Lopez, even though it should be Topuria, but that's a different argument for another day. Before we get to the main card, here's the thing. There's also, look at the fucking prelims. Your boy Hooper is against
Hooper's
Miller, who
on.
keeps hanging on.
He hangs on.
Then even Jan Janao versus John
Janao.
DeRoba, number 3 in the world contender strawweight on the prelims.
That's
then
awesome.
you got Ige, who's hanging on for dear life at featherweight. Woodson now.
Krylov Reyes? What? Krylov Reyes there.
And I just looked this up. Krylov has won 3 straight. Reyes won 2 straight to reset himself. 8 versus 11 in the world. We just did the 205 analysis a couple shows ago. So I love that they're getting traction here. And this is still in the prelims. This is exactly when Dana's finally addressing no more light cards, baby. I mean, these could all be main event fights, right?
Absolutely.
But we don't touch prelims, even though I love the Krylov Reyes. Now, we know Neil and Pratis has been canceled. I'm going to get to that in a second, but it's still showing up on UFC.com. I don't like how they do that, and they don't quickly get it off there. It's not clean. So we're going to start with Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull. Now, remember we talked about Horiguchi earlier, right? And I said, Nico, this is why you watch Bellator with me during when you were still in the training process. You watched a bunch of Pitbull fights, and so now when he finally gets the call to come to the UFC, you now know the backstory, okay?
Yes.
So I'm just going to I have it up. Check this out. So we're going to go back to, listen, what's his overall record? 36-7. And then you kind of see, listen, he was an unstoppable lightweight and featherweight champ for a long time. He finally lost that fight to McKee, although a lot of people thought that wasn't a full tap. But then he loses to Pettis, he loses to Suzuki, and it looks like, okay, his days are numbered. But then he does come back, and he wins the belt again in Bellator, beating Jimmy Kennedy with a knockout. So he's still there. He's hot. He's getting a little older, though. But now they've given him the call. Rodriguez, on the other hand, just so you can catch up. Now,
I know Rodriguez, man. Yeah.
I'm just saying what he just did recently. He beats Emmett. He submits him. Then he loses the title fight, but he was in there. But that's when Volkanovski just batters him. And then if you remember that fight in Mexico, he was up early against Ortega, and Ortega rallied and got that unbelievable submission. So he hasn't fought, and that's the beginning of 2024. So he's been off. He's had a layoff. So now you just see the backstory a little bit. So you got Pitbull coming in. He's going to be energized because he's finally in the UFC. Rodriguez is coming off the loss. Now, just so you know, the odds, because they're also not showing it, okay? I'm giving you everything here, bro. We got Rodriguez is a minus 196, so he's actually the favorite. Yeah. So with that,
I see that.
I am touching Rodriguez. I think Pitbull, he's waited too long to come to the UFC. He's a little too old. He even started losing in Bellator, and I'm like, I'm taking Rodriguez to reset himself. What do you say, baby?
I'm taking Rodriguez here. Okay, and it's really because I've seen his potential. I see what he can do in the last fight that you were just describing. Which one was it where versus Ortega, where he essentially was winning. He was up.
Well, he was up.
Yeah, and I'm worried that Pitbull might be able to pull something like that and stick around. He's got, the history and the pedigree, fighting IQ. So we'll see. But I think Rodriguez, hopefully he can shake off a little ring rust and take care of business here. I think he's favored for a reason. Let's go with Rodriguez here.
And do you see how big this is? Because Rodriguez is putting up his number 5 ranking, which means Pitbull's jumping into the class and has a chance to be a number 5 guy in the world within one fight.
It's big and within one fight. I like it. Get a little excitement going here.
Then just because Richie, our boy Richie, who's the other de facto savvy member on the side, giving us secret picks, chatting with us day and night, he was talking about this Neil Protez fight all week, if you remember. He was very excited.
Like, why are you so excited about this fight? Like, what is it about?
I bashed Richie earlier today. I bashed him because Hands of Steel. Listen, I like Neil. He's not going to be a champ, even though he was in that fight with Rakhmonov, though. He was. I don't think he's going to be a champ. He's number 10 in the world. But why it's so exciting is because it's a striker's delight. Neil loves to throw hands. Prates loves to throw hands, and Prates has KO'd 4 straight guys to get to number 13. And so it was a great matchup in Richie's defense. I wouldn't say that it was like a fucking main event matchup that you would normally be losing it for. So Rich was going a little bit too much here. But anyway, the big news was, as of yesterday, this is canceled because of a Neil injury. Okay, so we're not picking it. It's off the card.
Yep, it's off the card.
That means that we're only going to have 4 fights that we're actually going to pick, because Dana has not officially elevated, but I have a feeling it'll be Krylov Reyes, and then they'll probably promote Xiaonan versus Jandaroba to be. That's my guess, unless they promote the female fight and keep Krylov Reyes as the prelim main event. That could also be the case. Okay.
Should do that.
So I know it's a bummer. The injury bugs seem to keep hitting us when we have perfect cards. But luckily, this is so stacked that it doesn't actually hurt my heart too much. Rich is losing sleep over it. All right. Now, Gene Silva, another one of the Brazilian nerves. This guy, just so you can quickly see, he's on a crazy run. He just got into the UFC. He's won 4 straight. Okay. He beat Dober.
Yeah.
He beat Bogdasarian in that last one.
Bogdasarian, yep.
And then he got a quick turnaround. They started talking crap. Mitchell is kind of the most hated guy in the division now because of all of his ridiculous Hitler comments. The guy is completely out of his mind.
I have no faith in Bryce Mitchell, man. He's done, in my opinion. He's the knockouts he suffered have just been absolutely devastating. I can't see him.
You got knocked out by Emmett, but you keep forgetting, baby, that he's reset himself against Kron Gracie. If he gets you and he beat Ige.
Yeah, but Gracie is a joke. Gracie's a joke. Doesn't count.
Well, he was. No. He was pulling guard. And
it was a joke. That was a joke fight. I'm taking Silva all the way. That's where I am at. I don't know. Would you like Mitchell there? Go for Mitchell, or let's see what happens.
No, I mean, here's the thing. I agree that Silva's the big pick. He's 4 straight. He looks like he has unbelievable hands, just like Prates. They're from that same Brazilian nerds. But Mitchell's going to be going for takedowns. And I don't know. I haven't really seen Silva on the ground yet. So, but yeah, he's Brazilian. He's probably got the black belt in jiu-jitsu. So we'll see. But that could be a chess match on the ground, because Mitchell, knowing what happened against Emmett, can't stand anymore. He's got to go straight for the takedown. And then when he does, Thug Nasty's a problem. So he has a chance, but I'm going to side you with it. I'm going to go Silva here because he's minus 340. I don't trust Mitchell. We got to see if he does it 2 in a row. Okay. Now this gets outlandish. This gets crazy.
Yeah, this is actually
Paddy Pimblett versus Michael Chandler. Let me go because I know you're going to want to jump in here. Okay. Pimblett coming off that big win, right? Let's just take a gander. So here's the thing. He lost that Gordon fight almost in my eyes. So it kind of hurt his star a little bit, but they gave him the bad decision. Then he comes in and, of course, he beats Ferguson. It wasn't a thing. Then Green, who had been in the top 15 at that time, he comes in and he submits Green. But we all kind of know Green kind of like, yes, he luckily punched his way into the top 15. So that's why Pimblett now is a number 12 in the world. But he hasn't really beat anybody amazing yet when you look at that background. Chandler, on the other hand, he waited around and now he's coming off these losses, right? Like he beats Ferguson with the highlight kick of the year. He loses to Poirier, but even though he was in that fucking fight, he was actually up, baby. And then, of course, losing that last Oliveira fight where he was also almost finished Oliveira in the 5th round, but he just didn't get active early enough in the fight. So here's the thing. I know you're a Chandler guy, but But I feel like he's waited around too long. He's just the excitement guy. I think Pimblett ground game is too much. I'm very torn because Pimblett also can be susceptible on the feet, like we saw with Gordon. If Chandler stays up and hits Pimblett, he could be in big trouble. But I'm gonna take Patty the Batty and go against you and go with my heart pick because he's the future, where I feel like Chandler sat around too long, and now I feel like in the Oliveira fight.
There's not even a question in my mind. I'm taking Patty the Batty. Bimblett here.
Wow.
Michael Chandler is riding that. He's straddling that line of entertainment and fighting. You know, he's such a talented fighter, but he also plays to the crowd. He plays to the entertainment factor a lot. He's bound to now come in and say, I'm going to just take this victory here. He has done that, where he just kind of comes in, gets a victory, then he loses 2 straight, he'll come get a victory. This could be the night he does that. I understand it. I do think he's going to land on Patty the Batty. He's going to land and give us everyone a big heart attack. All right. But I think Patty the Batty will submit Michael Chandler in this fight. They will end up on the ground, and Michael Chandler, I don't think, will be able to defend Patty's submission prowess.
Wow.
And that's why I'm taking Patty the Batty. It's going to be an amazing, amazing fight. And we're both aligned on this one. Okay.
And I'm surprised because I thought you were going to go Chandler one last time because Patty hasn't really proven himself against elite level people yet.
No,
but
Patty's rising. He's rising. He's surging here. I think he gets his victory, and he's surging to the very top, toward the top of the division.
And before I go to the final fight, okay, and give you my take, I just also want to say that, there's just been talk about, oh, we're lacking stars, and even Big Rich said that recently. I kind of say, fuck that. I don't care. Like, yes, okay, Connor's gone, and whatever, and Pereira finally lost, but I think there's all these great new guys, and I think whatever. If you're the champion, to me, that's big enough of a star. Who cares if they're like some beloved fucking figure? But to Patty the Batty is that star.
Is that?
He is that star. So this is the biggest fight now, maybe even like for the UFC, because Dana needs, because remember, like when he comes out, people fill the arenas like they did with Connor, and they're all screaming Patty the Batty. They got the shirts, they got the little fucking things they're waving around.
Oh yeah, he's got the enthusiasm factor. He's got the wow factor. Yeah, he's got the fan base. He's got that something that special sauce. A little bit of what Connor has. So I think a victory versus Michael Chandler will catapult him and could give a little bit of that surge that the UFC needs, that star power factor that might be missing for some people. Again, I don't need it like you, Ari. I do agree with you. I don't need. We've got plenty here to be excited about.
Okay, main event. Lopez Volkanovski. Now let's just look really quickly. We've seen Lopez on this just insane course, right? Like, so he's won. So he loses to Evloev a while ago. That's why I've been calling out, hey, there's still Evloev who has that there. Okay, but then since then he won. He beats my boy Sabatini. He beats Youssef. Oh, wow, that's right. He knocks out Youssef. I forgot about that. Then he beats Ige. Then he beats Ortega. He kind of ran through him. I mean, Ortega stayed in there.
Wow.
So he's on this big monumental run. We like the guy.
He's dangerous.
Volkanovski, I don't even need to look up because we know it. He's lost 3 straight. 2 to Islam, 1 to Topuria. And so, but he still is, listen, 2 of those are up at lightweight. 1 was on short notice. The Topuria fight, he was sort of in it until he just got caught. I mean, it's not like he was being destroyed the whole time. It's still Volkanovski. He's still the favorite at minus 155. He's the, and then this is now for the belt because we all know Topuria's gone up. We've all had but this is what I'm going to do here, Nico. I'm going to shock the world, and I'm touching Lopez because I don't believe until Volkanovski wins again. I don't believe it. Lopez is running through everybody. He's the future. I'm going to be rooting Volkanovski. He's my guy. He's one of my favorite fighters, but I think I just don't see it now. I think maybe his time has passed. It's Lopez's day, and I'm going to touch Lopez and shock the world. What do you say here, baby?
And I'm taking Alexander Volkanovski, okay? That's going to be a big one. I think he ekes it out. He probably gets a decision, and it's a battle for battle. It's going to be a round by rounds type of situation, and ultimately he gets the victory on a decision. That's what I foresee. All right,
Wow.
and he resets himself here and gets that respect back that he deserves. It's going to be exciting, and so we've got a lot riding
A
these
lot
next
riding on these next
two
couple.
cards. Okay, I mean, how far away is this? 2 weeks out?
This is
Or
2
is it a
weeks
little
out, baby. This is
2 weeks
what do you
out?
mean? Yeah,
Okay,
we always
great.
go 2 weeks,
Yeah,
2
it's
weeks out.
no,
So we
it's not
got
like there's some gap or something.
no,
Okay, so
you're
we're good.
right. Yeah, there's no gap. This is 2 weeks from today or from last night. So yeah, exciting.
So that's big.
So we're very happy to have a hot card. And then the great thing is our next show will be the next day right after that. So we'll be reeling from the outcomes and we'll be,
Great.
going nuts. And then we'll finally, and this will be better because you're always saying, hey, we're coming off a card that wasn't like monumental, and this will be. It's
This
the
will
most
be
stacked card
It
probably
is
of the year so far. Okay. So with that, I believe we've come to the end here. Oh my God, if you were to touch.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's where we're
really
left here, and we'll
quickly.
just
So
don't
I
endorse
think
it. Anyone out there, don't endorse touching, but if you were to touch, we
I
can
think
give
you
you our
gotta say,
wisdom.
I think Volkanovski, right? Because you're getting an ex-champ who was basically unstoppable. He beat Holloway 3 times. He was like, there was no way you're even beating this guy until he goes up to Islam and sort of changes the course of his career. And then he do too quick of a turnaround against Topuria. And now people are just, even myself, we're looking past him. So I would say he's only a -155 to get Volkanovski. I think that's a pretty good if you were to touch there.
I agree. I would agree.
Right?
I would do Pimblett as well. I think Pimblett for me is it's a pretty much a money line. It's pretty much even money there.
Yeah.
Solid one to take. He's a rising star. And Michael Chandler's prone to losing. Michael Chandler is prone to losing. So you've got a safe opportunity there.
Yeah, and honestly, the rest of them, I don't like anything. I don't really think we get. The only other fun one would be you take Emmett and you let it ride, because at least if he hits with the punch,
it's an upside. Yeah,
then he
he's
gets
got an upside
double.
there.
You double your money. So I guess those will be our official. If you were to touches, you say Volkanovski, you say Pimblett. God, I don't know though, man. I think Chandler might win this fight. I'm surprised that you're going there, but I don't know if I love it. And then I guess you take Emmett for fun. You throw, not so too much to lose money because he's probably going to lose, but it's almost like it's like a lottery ticket. If he hits with the right hand, you double your money. Okay, so with that, those are if you were to touches. So
wow, we've covered a lot of ground here, Ari. It's been a good one.
Any last comments here, Nico, before I go to the outro? You pumped on coming to the show?
We're going to be what we're going to be looking for soon. Are we going to get word on Aspinall Jones? Are we going to, get word on Topuria, Makhachev? Will those big fights transpire?
Yes.
What's going to happen second in line in the welterweight division? How is that story going to play out? We might not get all those answers within these next 2 weeks, but we may hear some exciting stuff happen. We're going to keep an ear out. It was great to kind of do the round robin here, Ari, and go through our classic lineup. It was exciting, and I'm really happy about us being able to talk about the welterweight division today. Great stuff.
Oh, yes. So with that, thank you for listening to the Wally Report and the MMA Savvy exclusive episodes, which is, of course, the world's hottest podcast. Please subscribe, follow, comment, like, share, and blast. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on YouTube. We're actually popping off on YouTube now. We're blasting hard on the talk. We're heavy on the gram. We're taking over YouTube, right? And that's at The Wally Report. The YouTube actually is the new hottest place for TWR and MMA savvy video content. Okay, that's at The Wally Report. We've been posting amazing video clips from our episodes on all the social channels, so don't miss out. And please make sure to comment on Spotify, comment on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We like the comments. We've actually already been getting some denouncing some of our views. I like this. Fight with us if you think Nico and I are wrong. We love the comments and interactions.
And hit that subscribe button hit that subscribe button.
Hit the subscribe, baby. Okay, with that, let's jam out.